This is the Redallover instant reaction show to Barnsley's 2-2 draw yesterday against Wycombe Wanderers. 2-0 up in I think about the 88th minute, and then two late goals from Wycombe pegging us back to earn a lunchtime point. So we're going to discuss yesterday's game and also a little bit of Conor's post-match press conference. It seemed a little bit cryptic, so we're going to see if there's anything much in what he said there. So let's get stuck into it. So Andy, 2-0 up, and it all looking rosy, and then pegged back to 2-2. But the goals in which we did score, we'll start on sort of the positive side of it, of some good work from Ray's Cleary on his first start. Morning, Wayne. On his first start, great pinching the ball, and then tucks it away nicely through one-on-one, very composed finish. Second goal, Ray's Cleary on the left-hand side, beats his man, plays in a pass to Jonathan Bland. Unlucky, which I suppose comes back, recycles possession. Conor into Phillips, releases DKD on the right-hand side, who just absolutely hammers it home. And at that point, it felt like it was going to be a nice, easy finish to the game, not really under any problems. And then Wycombe score two. Well, one a little bit scrappy, the first one, and the second one, I just don't know what happened. It just seemed to roll all the way through everybody and in and to a piece it was.
It was a very strange game. I mean, to start with, I felt sorry for Johnny Bland because for the second time in a week or so, he's hit the ball from the edge box with his his wrong foot, if you like, with his left foot, and it's hit the post and come out. So you just want him to score. Anyway, if we'd have been Wycombe fans, or if I'd have been a Wycombe fan, I'd have been playing hell up because early on their centre halves dollying about on the ball and trying to do a back pass like we've done in times. Sometimes have we lent him Miles de Givini or something like that for the weak back pass? Sorry, Miles. Um, and in fairness, Will Norris got him out. For a start, got him out of jail because he came across and covered it and really made himself big. And it were a tight angle, but on target, we're a good save. And then lo and behold, not long afterwards, same again, pass back to the goalkeeper, nice and easy. Goalkeeper passes it back to the centre half, divils about with it, trying to be nonchalant and look at this and this is all right. Ray's Cleary, bless his cotton socks, what a game he had. Bless his cotton socks, is there like a good one. Took it off him and then coolly as a cucumber took it forward and placed it into a gap. So that were good. You'd have been going balmy, if absolutely balmy if you'd have been a Wycombe fan. So we would have it had been us. So at 1-0, it's all right, and we're in control. They're not causing any bother. In fact, I don't think until they scored they had a shot on target, or they might have had a couple. I'm not sure. But what I do know is our goalkeeper didn't have a save to make. I know that. From what I can see from the stats, the only time our goalkeeper, we're picking it out at flipping our nearest he got to need to make a save. Punched it away from a corner once, so that there were that. But actually, shots, I don't think he had a shot to save. Unless you're no different, I don't think he had a shot to save. So it's nice and easy. We've got most of the possession in the first half, and we looked comfortable. Looked pretty comfortable. The second half, thinking, are we going to get, as we sometimes get, only half a game from our players? The old Smithy adage, we can play for 45 minutes but not 90 minutes, and sometimes it's the first half, sometimes it's the second half. And lo and behold, we started all right, and it were a good goal. Again, Cleary caused it by taking him on. Not just quick. He's a strong lad, and a bit of an end product there. It's the bar, It's come back out to Luca Conor. I'm thinking, don't slash at it and smack it over the bar. He plays it to Phillips, so I'm saying smack it one. But as soon as it comes to Phillips, one touch straight to Keeler, leaving him free on the right hand side. Took it a few steps forward and lashed it. That's what you want. Don't try and tickle it past the goalkeeper who can get with a stretched leg. No, he absolutely hammered it past him. I think goalkeeper was still waiting for him to shoot. So 2-0 and it's all right. Then we come to the last, whatever it is, call it whatever you want. 20 minutes, say, it could have been a bit less, could have been a bit more. And they started putting us under a bit more pressure. We started to drop off, but we were, so they got more possession, but we were still looking pretty comfortable. And then it's lovely with hindsight. We're all brilliant with hindsight. We started making substitutions. And on the surface of it, you can see, I could see it. You could see it. Cleary were looking shattered. So, you can see that. See that. You could see that, Johnny Bland is on a book, and you're thinking, please don't, please don't throw a ball down again, Johnny, and get sent off again. We don't want that again. Don't, put us under more pressure. So they brought Bland off. Um, which didn't surprise me, given that we didn't want him sending off. But there was nothing to suggest that there were going to be anything untoward like that. And and then I can't get my head around the other one. I just can't. I can't. Vickers, I can't get my head around it. I don't know if he thought he was tired or just freshening it up, fresh legs. Maybe it's that. I don't know. But if you're going to bring fresh legs on, for me personally, if you're going to bring fresh legs on, and we're under a bit of a cosh, or they're starting to push us back, what you need, in my view, and I say hindsight's a wonderful thing, I want a player that's going to hold the ball up away from our goal, which out of the squad that we've currently got is David McGoldrick. We didn't bring him on. We brought Ferrugia on, who just run about, it and and John Russell. John Russell as a, I'm presuming, is like a defensive midfield player, and it don't work because he's not quick enough, and it don't work. It's not Kelly. Kelly, I ain't got a problem with Kelly coming on, but it just all it put us well out of our rhythm rather than causing, giving us extra strength, if you like, and it weakened us. It weakened us. Um, they, Donald McNeely on the McNeely on the right hand side, when he come on, he were causing us problems like they were like Cleary were causing them problems, and he just easily outfoxed our defence with a cross putting in. Josh Earl, he couldn't get near blocking him, um, and he's on his own. He's on his own. Bell's on his own. Sam Bell's on his own, just in front of our goal. He's on his own by about 2 yards. He's on his own, and it's like the first shot they've got on target, and it's in net. I think, or it might not be the first shot, but and then 2 minutes to go, and what I suppose what offends me really is that even with sort of 5 minutes to go plus added time at 2-0, I don't feel comfortable because we know what we've got in us. We know what we can do. Um, and then it's just all hands to the pump, if you like. And if you don't count Keeler Dunn and don't count the goalkeeper for their goal that was shot straight into the corner, we got 7 players in the box, and not one of them is nowhere near blocking it. Nowhere flipping near. 7 blow. There were about 9 players all around, counting goalkeeper and done 9 players, and it still went. And it's not like it were a thunderbolt. It's not like it were. Hey, against flipping against Brighton, he tickled it into the far post, curled to the far post, and nobody, including our goalkeeper, nobody got near the shot with all those people there. If Jack Shepherd don't block it, we're not getting blocks in at this rate. And I thought that was quite woeful that nobody got anywhere near it. And they, thank God it was late on because they could have snatched it at that rate, and that would have been an absolute travesty after all that playing and all that good play. To be honest, we undone ourselves, and that's the bit. That's the bit frustrating, to put it mildly.
Yeah, Dean, it did seem, in terms of the changes, obviously, Conor came out and said McGoldrick was carrying a knock. That's why he wasn't the one to
Yeah.
come on. And John Russell sort of got the nod. I know he'd been training that left hand side attacking 10 role recently, Conor, but it did feel like one of them of you don't need to, sometimes you don't need to make the changes. Like Caelan Vickers is probably more than adequate, even if he's tired of just shoving him up front and he can probably buy a free kick and release some of that pressure if he needs to. But it does feel like some of those things of we should have known as fans. Connor's what 15 games, 20 games into his managerial career. He's not experienced in the slightest compared to Michael Duff, for example, who he's come up against. And it is you can see he's still learning how to coach this side and how to manage games out because it is different from playing and managing a game and managing a game out as a coach, as we've seen sort of over the last few weeks. Of it did feel like a soft underbelly had gone if you looked at August results and sort of the beginning of September. Whereas now it seems like that soft underbelly's come back, especially with the late conceding goals, which we've seen over the last 2, 3 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand the substitutions personally because I watched. I didn't watch the game yesterday. I watched it back last night, which was torture. But anyway, I did, and I could see that Bland was really struggling in the last. And to be fair, it wasn't very early the substitution of Bland, but and when you're tired, you stick a leg out, and suddenly, you've got another booking. So I get that, and Cleary cramped up, and I understood that. Vickers, I didn't quite understand quite the same. Where I had a problem was who he actually brought on, in terms of it looked like he was almost, and this is where the inexperience comes in, I guess. It looked like he was trying to play the normal way with Ferrugia out on the right and Keeler Dunn out on the left, and Russell hopefully trying to hold the ball up a little bit and play it. Whereas it was a moment of attrition where surely we've got two defenders on the bench. Wouldn't that have been a better option? Because we knew that Wycombe were going to. I mean, he would have known that Wycombe were going to push and push and push, especially at 2-1. So that was my concern about it more than actually making substitutions. I know on social media he's got absolutely hammered for making substitutions. Why did you take so and so off? Why do you? But I can, as I say, understand that. But surely he would have been better going and bringing an additional centre half on, and playing three at the back and maybe even putting Rooney, who's a decent footballer, on the ball in front of the back three and blocking the very shots that ended up being their equaliser and Blackpool's winner. So that was my real concern about the substitution. McGoldrick maybe.
Blackpool's winner weren't that good. They've sacked the manager.
Well, yeah. How did we manage to lose that one? Anyway, yeah. I mean, we basically tossed 3 points away, haven't we? Two at Wycombe and one at Blackpool. And yeah, it's depressing to say the least, and it's not good watching it secondhand. Believe you me.
Certainly not. One thing, Craig, I mean, sort of jumping back to the positive side of it, Ray's Cleary's first start, first goal for the club as well, and very unfortunate not to get an assist for Jonathan Bland was the one that kind of created that move for the second goal as well. And also with the introduction of Ray's Cleary, seeing Kevin Vickers sort of have that free role, and rather than Adam Phillips of occupying that right hand side, which I think, especially in that first half, the second, it seemed like it very much did confuse that Wycombe side a bit because everyone's sort of expected now to play with two players on that right hand side, and Ogbita gets left hand side to his own. And whereas Ray's Cleary really hugs the touchline and really stretches the pitch, so gives a different option down that left hand side and really did help. And it did seem. Wayne, it did seem as though when Ray's Cleary came off, wheels fell off of that game as well. Just to get that in there, Ray's Cleary having another storming game out of the three he's had so far.
Mhm.
It did seem that shift did work up until making them substitutions.
Yeah, he made a large number of changes for this game. Ogbeta seemed to hold back a little bit more than he usually would. You saw Watson away a little bit more of a free rein to get up on the right hand side. Vickers and Phillips obviously swapping positions. I'm not really sure that last one worked too well. I think Vickers is brilliant at being able to control the ball and run with it. I don't think he had the license to do that in the middle as much. So I think I, I wouldn't mess with that right hand side. If it's not broke, don't try and fix it. I think we've been much better seeing Phillips, especially in the press as well, in the middle, and having Vickers out wide. I don't think that needed to be messed with. The left hand side did seem like a bit of an issue, um, especially with their first goal. Ogbeta getting higher up the pitch, not being able to get back as quick. Left Earl in a one-on-one situation with a winger, which is something that terrifies every Barnsley fan up and down this planet. And he got absolutely rinsed for pace, and then he got absolutely doubled over, and then rinsed for pace again. He got
Well,
beat twice.
just on that first goal, like Better's about 5 yard away from Earl. He's marking their winger, and it's a striker that runs into a gap. It's not Better that's miles out of position. He's about a yard away from ball when it's played, as in a yard away from Earl. So
Well, he's
Better's
not next to Earl, which is
No, he is. He's right next to him. The striker runs into the gap between Earl and Ogbeta, and Earl obviously picks him up as he runs in front of him. Ogbeta's maybe 2 yard away from him.
either way. You shouldn't have Earl up against somebody with that pace.
Well, no,
Um,
but I mean, it's a good ball then from Wycombe, to be honest. It's smart centre forward player running against Earl rather than Ogbeta.
well, yeah, but if you're trying to see a result out, well, you don't need to be leaving gaps that allows things like that to happen.
I'll be honest, the gap's about 2 yard between Ogbeta and Earl. That ball's played in.
Jesus, what were in your Weetabix? I'm just
no,
giving my opinion of things. I'm
No,
not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying.
I'm
Go
just
on,
telling you
Craig.
what's happening. I'm not.
Yeah,
you-
it's
you-
like
you-
everything I've said so far has had an issue with
Go
it.
on, Craig.
You've
He's had a
just-
go at Wayne Brown, now he's saying a go at you. Go on.
No, but you've just said Ogbeta will rate high up pitch. He weren't.
It was higher up the pitch. I
On
didn't
the-
say he were at left wing.
I've got the picture up now as a
Sunday
still.
morning.
He's about that far on this image, higher up than Josh Earl.
Well, it depends how big your screen is, mate. In mine, it looks about that big, that distance.
He's about a yard in front of Earl.
Do you know what, Dean? I feel like shouting fate, fate, fate.
Right.
These two.
Right, no.
I would say better isn't out of position. It's good forward play from their player to go and run in front of Josh Earl rather than Ogbeta, which you're going to do if you're faster than him, as we can see from this first goal.
Well,
Ogbeta played him better. He played that McNeely better because he blocked he did it a few times out on their right hand side and blocked a few crosses in. But Craig's not wrong at all. It done him for pace, and it were a good ball through, and he's a good player. It was down to him, and he covered him, but then he did him again. Twisted him again, and Josh is not the quickest on. He's not. Says me. He's not the quickest on the turn, and he did him. He absolutely did him. And then there's nobody there to block the ball coming across, and it's a couple of yards at most off our goal line, he's on his own. But anyway, sorry, Craig, go on.
yeah, and anyway, for their equaliser, I saw three things that were wrong with us defensively. Number one, Dunn and Conor both didn't run out to try and stop him when he were on edge area. I know he only had one touch, and I know they're not lightning quick. Before you have a go, Josh, I know that they're not like a whip it or whatever. So I can excuse that a little bit. The goalkeeping for me wasn't great. The ball, he agrees. I'll take that. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but Watson's too busy hugging their striker to see the ball go past him when he could have just stuck a leg out and blocked it. If you watch him, he's got both arms around him and he's like got his head up against his back like this. So he can't actually physically see the ball coming in. So he could have blocked it if he were looking. But To me, I'm not going to throw baby out with bathwater. Like I say, everybody's making a huge song and dance about this interview. Look, things happen in football games, and we've got to learn how to stop conceding so many goals in the second half of games. If every game finished at half time, we'd be fifth in the league. If the game was the second half only, we'd be 20th in the league. So the second half of games are a massive issue for us. Are substitutions part of that? Possibly. I don't see what Russell brings to the table that McGoldrick doesn't. Because people can argue that Russell can hold the ball up, so can McGoldrick. You know, he can tackle, so can McGoldrick. But for me, I I just don't see what else he could have really done except bring McGoldrick on. I think there's individual errors towards end of games, um, and that is something that we're going to have to work on. But I'm not going to go absolutely mental and say it's the worst thing I've ever seen. The biggest issue I saw actually was Woodrow going off because he were blocking shots for us. He were doing sloppy passes. I mean, he was showing what a true red, he still is. And I think we should always focus on positives.
That's scraping the bottom of the barrel, that one.
You got to go for any positive you can.
Ever so nice of him to help out. To be fair, on that second goal, Andy, I think the mistake for it's made about 2 minutes before when Davis Killardun decides to shoot from 30 yard and just give them the ball back rather
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
because at that point of the game, and it does come down to game management then on an individual level for me, rather than a manager, because Conor can say, do not like if I walk on, I wouldn't expect him to shoot from there. I would expect him to keep possession and we can run the clock down a little bit more and it gives us a chance to get a little bit further up pitch and it forces them to have 7 players behind the ball and they can't come and counter. Whereas as soon as you kick it straight to their keeper, they can launch it 70 yard back forward and all their players are already back up the pitch. That for me what the problem for that goal of because it's a completely different circumstance and that they've got to build from and actually come back forward, which they did do. And then that second goal, as Craig said there tonight, Watson could have blocked it. Luca Connell, I know you said Craig that he didn't come out and close it down, but the ball literally nearly hits his head from him just being stood almost in the way. Tonight Watson's hugging their player, and again could have stuck a leg out and poked it away. It did feel like for me the problem for that goal was committed a minute or two before when DKD decided to shoot from miles away.
Yeah, I mean we got to learn how to so we got to learn how to ride it out. And to be honest, I thought we had this season, in the first half after some games, really at the start of the season, we looked a lot fitter. And we all know that for the last 2 years, particularly last year, we were making mistake after mistake and giving so many late goals away, either by mistake or by being pressed further and further back. And I honestly thought we got rid of that, right, earlier on. I thought we got rid of that by being fitter and being able to ride games out. And we've slipped back into conceding. And the getting later, we're always around 75 to 78 minutes. It's getting later. It's really late that we conceded, added time goals. And, Dean's right. We dropped 3 points in a couple of league games through very, very late goals that have been weakly defended, just weakly defended. And the frustrating bit, I'm glad it's a Sunday morning rather than after the game because I was spitting feathers right after the game. But as Craig says, that's a bit unfair because we had 88 minutes of pretty decent performance. It gradually started ebbing away as they started putting us under pressure, and we didn't deal with it. Exactly what you're saying. We didn't ride it out, which is a bit surprising given who we've got as our head coach, who's good at dealing with that sort of, as a player dealing with that sort of stuff. But yeah, he's a new coach. But it's frustrating to go back to being naive towards the end. And you're right, Davis has a shot, they attack, but then there's an edge of box running between two players. on his own. You know, the player that finally scores has got it at the edge of the box, plays it out wide, so he goes to him because there's nobody on him. He passes it back to him, so he's got to go back to him a few steps forward. And I'm with Craig. You know, Murphy Cooper's. It's not like he hammered it. It were, for me, not in the greatest of positions. It's easy, isn't it, in a lounge on a Sunday morning, talking about somebody who's in pouring rain, not being in the right position. You know, because obviously I'd have saved every single one of them, but sat here I would anyway. So it's a bit difficult, but there were there were preventable goals. But to be frank, our first goal were preventable by them, and they didn't. You know, they tried it once and then give us another go. So you know they weren't blessed with defensive prowess either for most of the game. So
I'm just going to join the GK idea of Murphy Cooper on that because I think it does look bad, but I get why he didn't dive too early just because it goes so close to their forward and tonight Watson who come across. Because I think if it clips on them, it's probably going to land right in his arms. And it
listen,
probably
if it takes a deflection off Watson, it takes a deflection. You see it all the time. At least have a go at it. The biggest I like Murphy Cooper. I think is one on one. I think there's a damn good chance that he's going to come out on top against attackers. What frustrates me, and it's not just about him, but is another in a long line of frustrating goalkeepers for me in this respect. We have corners conceded dancing on his line. And I think, I've seen there were some balls last night where their corner is a couple of yards off a Cummins, he did it once, he smacked it away once. Come and collect it, come up, don't dance on your line and leave it to defenders because then it's much more equal. You've got your arms, that gives you an extra yard in height above anybody else. Come and get it. Dominate. 6 yard box for me, in a 6 yard box, a goalkeeper should dominate. But that for me, if he did that, he won't be playing at Oakwell. He'll be in Premier League because he's so good in other aspects. Apart from, he takes longer to take a goal kick than I do. He's going to finish up getting suspended. The number of bookings he gets for. I don't think he's time wasting. I don't think he's time wasting. I don't. I just think he's the goalkeeping equivalent to John Russell. Just takes a long time to do it. I'm only kidding. Only kidding, John Russell. No, he's going to get his sem. He's going to get his sem back.
He's one of the most injury-prone keepers we've had. He must cramp up every other game.
Oh,
One of the more injury-prone ones. I've got no against it. Good game management.
I know.
I liked him time wasting at the beginning of the second half. Perfect for me. I saw some people saying they don't want to see something. Yeah, I was like, everyone does it to us. It's about
That's
time
true.
we did it
That's
back.
absolutely true. Yeah, but we're more purists at Barnsley. We're not. We
None of
don't
that.
want to follow the herd of cheating. We don't
Get him
follow
off at
that
wall
herd.
bottom.
Oh, I want that. Oh, I think that. That's different. Put him on his backside. Don't tickle about with it. Put him on his backside. Anyway.
Rosie at West End for me. That's what I want to see players. Oh, look at that, Craig. We look at better there. About 5 yards from Earl. Thought he were quite close to him. And their player on touchline that he's marking. Just good centre forward players running in front of Earl. Smart.
But he is higher than Earl, like I said.
I did say that, and when I looked on the screen about that far, he's what, a yard? 2 yard? Higher than him? Fullback's been playing a flat four. As you see tonight, Watson's about a yard deeper than Earl. Who's Jack Shepherd's about 5
Jack
yards.
Shepherd's nearly with Murphy Cooper on goal line.
I don't know why he's back there. Dean, one thing that did seem a little bit strange was Conor's post-match interview, sort of alluding to some issue somewhere that we potentially couldn't address immediately. I don't really know what he meant by it, to be honest, or what he was trying to hint at being the problem or being the issue.
Yeah, I don't know. I looked at their goals last night, replayed them about 6 times, trying to see if somebody was arguing with each other or somebody was obviously hadn't done a job that they were supposed to do. And from my experience, when I played, what tended to happen if we conceded and somebody didn't do the job that they were asked to do or told to do, then all hell broke loose in the dressing room afterwards. So I, whether that was the case or not, I don't know, but I can't see any kind of major systemic issue. I can't see any issue between certain players. I could, like Craig has said, argue that people weren't in the best possible positions. But it didn't look to me like anybody was particularly doing or not doing what they were supposed to do. I think it was lack of concentration. So I have literally no idea what he was talking about there, but he said he was aware of what that situation was, but he wasn't going to talk about it. So
why mention it then? You're not going to talk about it. All you're going to do there is just spring speculation, bring negativity towards the club, especially for the fans that are just adamant that everything about the club is rotten to the core, and you just give them ammunition for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that, but I think I think he was so devastated, and he was obviously, emotional negatively for what had unfolded. I don't think, for once, and I've always thought with Conor that he's very, very careful and picks his words carefully when he's been interviewed, and it was almost like his guard was down. And no, he would have been better not saying anything at all, because, as you say, it adds fuel to the fire that an awful lot of fans have expressed over the last 24 hours that I've been reading about. And that kind of does disappoint me completely, because those fans weren't saying that after the first 9 games of the season. Suddenly Connor's no use, is inexperienced, which clearly he is, and we recognise he is, and he's going to make some mistakes, that's for sure. But to suggest that, some of the language is appalling, and would those hands up all those people who would have been saying that after we'd won 7 of the first 9 games. So I don't know. I don't know what that was all about. I suspect we might not find out either.
No, I can't imagine you would do, but I think you're right there, Craig, of why mention it? Like, if you're not going to elaborate on it, because it's not something that fans or people would have ever picked up on. It wasn't like it was like a hard pressing question to find out what it was, either. Like, I just don't understand why he almost like nonchalantly mentioned it.
It's first time I've seen Conor flustered. If I'm quite honest. To be fair, I think he's just grasping at straws, trying to find a reason why. And he said, I bet I wish he could have grabbed them words back out the air and shoved them back in his mouth as soon as he said them. Because look, these sort of results happen. They happen for every team in every league. And sometimes you can't explain exactly what happened. What you've got to do is you've got to replay the game back. You've got to sit down, you've got to analyse. And he hasn't given himself a chance to do that before making comments. What he should have just done is said, look, we conceded 2 late goals. We're going to have to analyse it. We're going to look at it as a team. We're going to work to improve, and then just leave it at that. Like I say, I think he looked flustered. I think he looked like a deer in headlights. He didn't know quite how to handle what he'd just seen. And like I say, I think it's just a bit of inexperience. But he'll soon learn that the least you say, the better when it comes to the press, because they make out like you're the friends. They're not. They just want headlines. I think that's every journo. It's their job, and that's what they're good. The press, they ask the pressing questions to try and probe into your mind, and you've just got to basically keep them out.
Weren't a pressing question though, Craig.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. He must have been flustered.
It.
It looked physically flustered to me as well. So but look, I'm not looking into it too much. I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole of, is it this, is it that? Because I'm sure we'll have on Barnsley forums up and down for next week now. We'll have conspiracy theories. We'll have arguments brewing in background. We'll have players falling out and the wives are not talking to each other. There'll be loads of stuff come out.
Which wives,
none
Craig?
of it'll
Which
be
wives
true.
aren't talking to each other, Craig? Which one?
Well,
Who's
you never
falling
know.
out, Craig?
You
Which
don't
players
know.
are falling out?
Be one on them. Be one on them. But that's what I'm saying. It's just now. It's just a snowball that's just going to grow and grow and grow until we get a good run of results, and then it'll just fly away like it never even come out. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's massively negative, and I think that's probably going to hurt us more than it resulted.
It did seem a very, like you said, Andy, it seemed like a weird thing to volunteer. Like, it's not like there was some sort of pressing question of being like, what was a key issue, or like were they bust up in the dressing room after the game or anything like that. Like, he just volunteered up this almost weird quote that can be taken out of context, or you can try and apply context to it and sort of see where you end up, and it could be 2 + 2 = 83 by the time you've done it.
I would have. I mean, you got to remember this. I mean, I absolutely agree with what Craig's saying about that. There's about experience and not throwing a sprat to people that will twist it. And we don't need the journalists to twist it. We've got fans that are perfectly capable of listening to it and doing it on their own and making, I want to say, putting 2 and 2 together, not making 5, but making 5,005. I have absolutely no idea what he's talking about. I don't know if he's talking about if it's something on the field of play during the game, if it's something in the dressing room afterwards. I blame Mladen for leaving. It's his fault. He left, and while this is all going off and we've got all this, players fighting each other, wives not speaking to each other, Mladen's mowing his garden. It's not right, is it? It's his fault. He should have been there. Instant reaction. I mean, flipping heck, instant reaction. He must have been apoplectic after conceding 2 late goals, preventable goals, right at the end. 2 minutes from time and then deep into the time. Although Liverpool's done the same, they're champions and they've done it and all. So we're in good company. I hope we match them for points this season, and we'll do all right. And then comes out. I don't know what's been said in dressing room. I would assume, and I don't know. But he's a passionate guy. I would assume he'd have had a go. Maybe somebody's had a go back. I would have thought that emotions would have been running high in the dressing room. I think emotions running high. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
between your two, particularly so many hours later. I think they were running high, and then he comes out to do an interview. And he starts saying something, and he should have said it was flipping referee's fault, and that guy up motorbike revving up, it's his fault. But he suddenly thought, in my view, no, don't go down Craig's rabbit hole, don't do that. And so he shut up. I'm not going to talk about that. So he shut up. Shouldn't have said it. But it's football. If you hadn't have said it, just think how many comments there'd be. There won't be any comments, or very few comments on social media. It all adds to the grist of the mill. We've now got 2 weeks of being able to unpick and talk absolute rubbish about one sentence. So, it's throwing a sprat to us, giving us something to talk about. So that's...
the forums are going to be entertaining. That's all I can say.
That's all our next show's going to be about next week.
Yeah, that's it.
We're going to do an hour on that one sentence. And what it could have meant to every person.
Well,
if we know somebody can do that, we've got
two. Mowing.
Well, you're
2 men that could make a full show out of one sentence, definitely.
Oh, dearie. Right, get your thoughts on yesterday's game down in the comments below.
Yeah, I'll ask a question. Do you think Beckett should have done better at getting back and helping Erlat, or do you think that it were a fantastic pass and the goal was good?
Well, as you can
see, do you think it was preventable by Beckett being a bit better defending?
Are you asking me that?
I'm asking. No, I've had your opinion. I want to see what everybody else thinks.
You didn't actually. I didn't give your opinion. I just told you that Beckett weren't 25 yard up pitch like you said he was.
I said he were up the pitch. I didn't say 25 yards.
That's not up the pitch. He's in his position. He's marking a winger. He's marking the winger.
Why?
There's a
You should
winger.
not leave Earl on his own.
Right.
You should not leave him.
So now we have to play. We have to play players out of position. We have to have a winger playing basically left wing back because Earl shouldn't be left on his own, and Ogbeta
Who's
should
winger?
play the
Flipping
winger that's
heck, Dean.
behind Ogbeta. There's a winger
Dean.
that's a
Yeah, I
yard
know.
behind him.
No,
So
but he could play halfway in between.
so
He should have been inside a
Dean.
little bit more.
There's things going on behind the scenes, Dean, but I'm not going to
no,
talk
he
about it.
shouldn't.
No.
He just shouldn't because then all that does is allow
The
them
funny
to
thing
play the
is,
ball there.
Ogbeta ends up at centre back and could have blocked the ball again,
Yeah,
but he missed.
he tried to block. He tried to block the first pass. He tried to block the first pass that come through, then tracks his runner into the box, and then didn't deal with it.
Anyway, I want to say something about Cleary because I've given him some stick of the past few videos that he's played. I
That's
know you
all right,
want to end it, Josh.
No, it's all right.
Look,
Done it third incorrect thing you've said this show. Getting Ray's Cleary stick when he's the best player in the world.
no, I didn't stick for this.
You've
game.
just said you've given him stick.
No, I've said
and
I
I
give him
said you
stick in the
shouldn't have done.
past.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can admit when I'm wrong. You know, I'm a man. I'm not a god who gets nothing wrong. So I'm saying that.
Don't start picking on me, Craig.
I'm still learning that.
I
I've
just
never
want
been
to
wrong
say,
yet.
I think it's the best game he's had on. He's had with a Barnsley shirt on. It was great to see him running at his defender, which he did for the for the second goal.
Mm-hmm.
The first goal, that pressing, that's what I've called for from him. So the two things that I've actually said in previous videos that he should do more often, he did, and look what happened.
Thank God he listened
Brilliant
to you,
little
Craig.
player. Yeah.
Thank God he listened.
And I had to go last time he played. I had to go because his him not putting it back when he should and not putting it across the goalkeeper when he should. He actually looked up this time and cut it back, and he hit Bland with it. So he had a brilliant game.
Just to refresh my memory, was that the game when he played against international defenders when he was crossing the ball a little bit blind? At a Brighton game.
I think he's done it in every game he's played.
Right, that Brighton game.
Up to yesterday.
To be fair, well, if he did it on Tuesday, no, that weren't too bad. If he were crossing it blind, because one of them ended up being an assist. So I'll give him fair play for that. He's sounding a bit like my mate Wayne.
Flipping it.
Poor Reyes Cleary, who's the greatest player of all time, who shall not be a fullback piece tattoo on the back of my back, seeing as none you can comment on these shows.
Do you know what? Dean? We should have had Callum Simpson on this show instead of me and you. Then there could have been three people fighting.
Oh, well, it's all right. You two disagree with each other. No one wants to watch that.
We didn't agree with each other on instant reaction. We argued about Jack Shepherd. We're not like you two, just wanting to fight everybody.
Well, that's much more entertaining. Views of this show will be off the charts because of me and Craig.
That's the thing. That's the thing about opinions. They're like rear ends. Everybody's got one.
Yeah, but my difference is that mine's always right somehow.
Yeah, in your mind.
Just seems like everyone else is wrong. I'm still yet to be proven wrong. And it's been 28 years, so...
If your mind's made up, mate, your mind's made up. Nobody can change it for you.
We're old at that rate. Right, we will be back on Wednesday when we will reassess where we are this season. Before the next game, Bradford, isn't it?
Bradford
on the 18th.
Away, yeah.
So it's miles away. So we're back next week, reassessing the first 2.5 months of the season, giving the season a rating. And yes, we'll be then back to preview Bradford the week later. We'll see you there, you Reds.